So I was bored coding my game and I decided to make a scrolling image label, and I was like, you know what, why not show people how to make it? So yeah, here's the video. This video is gonna have 3 parts, and I'll put the timestamps on the screen. The first part is the setup, the second part is the technicalities of how it works. You can skip this step.
I'm sorry, 12 times 12, 909,000.
And the third step is common problems. So after you finish the first step and you still have issues, you can go to the third step and check if your issue's on there. If it's not, you can comment on the video and I'll try to solve it. Alright chat, so let's get into actually making this work. Your first step is going to get the model in the description, click the link, subscribe and like while you're at it, and press get model in the page. Your second step is going to go to Roblox Studio, go to your starter GUI, and make a new screen GUI. You don't have to do this if you already have a screen GUI. Your third step is to bring the model into your game and put it inside of that GUI. The fourth step is going to get your image ID and paste it in the scrolling texture image property. Your fourth step is you're going to get the dimensions of your image label. You can do this by looking at your image file and copying the dimensions, or you can just try to guess it and type it into the script. The fifth step, which is the hardest step, is to test the game and see if it works. If it looks off, or it doesn't work at all, you can go to the common problem timestamp and maybe there will be a fix there. Okay, so this is just uncut raw footage, no edits of how this thing works, so you can just try to better understand it, if that makes sense. So the reason why I just use dimensions is because it's easier for people to edit, and you know, it's easy for them to just put in dimensions, right? And you might be wondering, if you probably look further into the script, well, why are we using offset here? Why are we doing that? It's because the client doesn't know scale. The client will only know offset. Like if they get the dimensions of an image, they're only going to know the offset. They're not going to know the scale. That's the whole point of giving the offset version first, which is pixels, then manually doing scale, so it's easier for the person. It's easier for the person to use this. That's what the whole point of this is. It basically just makes its own scale and is putting that value in the offset, instead of the scale. And yeah, math at scale that just rounds, math at max it just picks out the biggest number in a set. That's for the buffer. So what you're probably wondering, what the hell's the buffer? So the buffer is extra tiling so that it could look seamless. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of cool stuff here for a second. So let's say if we run this, right? And you're like, oh, that looks seamless, right? So what's really happening with this is it's moving, then gets repositioned, moving, reposition, moving, reposition. Like that's what happens. It's constantly repositioned over and over again while it moves left or right or whatever direction. So if you get this and look at this, if you turn off clip descendants, you can see the whole process here. Wow. Now what you can do is, let's say for example, this is there's too little buffer. So let's say the buffer is only like 0.1. Then okay, I mean the texture is big enough. Yeah, let's just do a buffer of 0. Yeah, you can clearly tell now that that's what's happening, is it's being repositioned over and over. That's the whole point of the buffer and why you can adjust it. It's because people are going to use different textures with different sizes, so they're going to need to have an adjustable buffer offset. So that's what that's for. Okay, so that's what this function's for. And then it's going to update the tiling, call the function. And also, if the absolute value of the frame changes, so if you just edit the frame and just change the size or whatnot, then it will update the function. It'll recall the function, so it'll update the dimensions of the offset that it's using. So you don't have to worry about it being offset and like being different sizes for different screens. It'll handle that. So that's what that does. And then you got run service.render step that just runs every frame for the client, and it makes it so no computations happen if it's not visible. If this is not visible, no computational energy will be expended. It will only just be it will be reserved until it needed to be expended. So yeah, that's what that's for. Gonna help with the performance a little. Yeah, but yeah, that's how this works. So awesome. That's on to the next talk. Next step. For example, let's say you're running this and you can clearly tell there's a gap. For whatever reason there's a gap. Well, if there is a gap, there's this thing you can adjust called the buffer offset. You can make this a bigger value. I'd say increase it by 0.5 by 0.2s each single time. So 0.2, 0.4, 0.6 until it's like you can't notice it anymore. That's what I'd say you should do. And let's say the tile size is too small. Well, you can adjust that to make it bigger. Let's say there's actually an issue. I don't know why, but when I just play it, nothing happens at all. There's a weird issue. Well, what you can do is copy the error, paste it in the comments, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, hey, I think I know what's wrong. So that's another thing you can do. Remember, make sure your hierarchy is correct. Screen GUI, and there's a frame, and there's a scrolling frame. Otherwise, this won't work. But yeah, those are the common issues I'm predicting that people will be complaining about. Oh, another thing, I forgot. Let's say it's too wide. Like, that's really stretched out, like, ew. Then you can just try to mess around with the dimensions. You can make it smaller to make it less wide. You can make it the height smaller to make it less tall. Like, or if it looks too squashed, you can make the height taller. Like, yeah, so that's what you can do to try to fix it. So yeah, just adjust it, go in the script. Okay, the script is right here in your frame. Open that script, open it up, and you can adjust it. So yeah, thanks for watching the tutorial. If you like the tutorial, if it helped you, just leave a like, subscribe. All right, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, that's boom.